I'm not a pro sim racer, but I love improving. Finding a 10th, hitting a cleaner line, that stuff's addictive. And as a sim racer and someone studying psychotherapy, I've learned most of what holds us back isn't technical, it's mental. When I changed how I thought behind the wheel, everything else followed. So here's 5 mental shifts that genuinely made me faster and made racing fun again. Let's get into it. You can't control results, only decisions. This shift didn't hit me until way later than it should have, because for the longest time I thought I was racing for the win, but what I was actually chasing was control over the outcome. And when I didn't get that outcome, I got tense, defensive, and frustrated. Not only because I was driving badly, but because I was measuring myself against something I couldn't fully control. Here's the truth. You can't control where you finish. You can't control the guy that sends it on lap 1 or the back marker that loses it in front of you. You can't even control if you get disconnected halfway through a perfect clinical drive. What you can control is your decisions, your line, your braking, your mindset when things go sideways. And the funny thing is, when I started focusing on that, just driving my race, I actually started finishing higher. And from a psychology point of view, this is a classic locus of control shift. People who focus on what they can influence perform better under stress because they don't waste mental energy on what they can't. So now I ask myself during a race, did I make the best decisions I could with what I had? That's it. Sometimes that lands me on the podium. Other times I finish with P12 with a smile because I know I drove clean, drove smart, and stayed calm. Number 2 is that I had to stop driving to impress anyone, and even myself. This one's tough to admit because for a long time I didn't realize I was doing it. I wasn't racing to win, I was racing to prove something. To my friends, to randoms in the server, and to myself, honestly. I wanted to feel like the fast guy, and that mindset kills consistency. It makes you force passes when they're not there, force pace when it's not there. It makes you afraid to make mistakes because it makes you feel like your reputation is on the line. When I finally caught that, when I realized I was driving to impress instead of improve, I changed my focus. Now when I race, I try to execute and not prove. Good braking points, good exits, smooth lines, that's it. Some races I don't even look at the results because it's not about where I finished, it's whether about I drove well. And honestly, when I focus on that, I usually finish higher anyway. Quick pause before we move on. If this is hitting at all, if you've ever had one of those races where you finish and you just think, what the hell was that? You're not alone. That's literally why I make these videos. Not as an expert, but as someone who's figuring it out, just like you. So if you're into sim racing, want more style of these videos, hit subscribe and join the fam. I'd love to have you around. Now this next one answers probably the most common question I receive about starters in sim racing, getting into your first races, or even people that have been doing it a while, and it's that nerves weren't the problem, lack of exposure was. Race starts used to completely mess with me. No matter how much I practiced, that first lap always felt like panic mode. My heart would race, hands would sweat, and I'd end up driving super defensive or making dumb moves. Quick shout out to all the leg shakers out there, I see you. It wasn't a fear of crashing, it was the pressure of the moment. And for a long time, I thought maybe I'm just not wired for competition, but what I did realize was nerves are normal. They're just signals. It's your brain saying, hey, this matters. The difference between drivers who collapse under pressure and the ones who don't, one group is used to it. You don't fix nerves with gear, you fix them with exposure. The more I raced, not hot lapped, not practiced, but raced in traffic, wheel to wheel, the less those nerves had power. Eventually they completely go away, and then you have the realization that you know what you need to do, the points you need to hit, and if something happens, it happens, and you'll know you did your best. The goal isn't to eliminate discomfort, it's to learn how to sit with it, stay with it, without panicking. Number 4 is a massive one, and in general, you can take this anywhere you want in life. It's pretty important. In general, in terms of sim racing, real progress starts when you can actually see the problem. One of the biggest shifts for me in life and sim racing wasn't fixing something, it was finally seeing it. There's this idea in psychotherapy which really sticks with me that awareness is the intervention, meaning that the moment you become aware of a pattern, even if you haven't fixed it yet, you're already starting to change it. That hit me hard in sim racing because for the longest time I'd get frustrated with myself. I'd see the same mistakes, same habits, same gaps in pace and think, why am I still messing this up? But the truth was, I wasn't stuck. I was finally noticing, and that's not nothing. If you can watch a replay and see what went wrong, that's growth. If you catch yourself tensing up under pressure, that's progress. Even just recognizing that you're overdriving, that's the beginning of control. And noticing you're jumping off the brakes too early instead of trail braking, that's a breakthrough. Because now you're not just driving, you're observing. And once you start seeing it, you can start shaping it. You do not need to fix everything in one session. Sometimes just naming the issue is the win. And lastly, one of my most important tips that really I give to a lot of my friends that start out in sim racing that I always remind myself of, and that is, if I couldn't stay calm, I couldn't stay fast. This one took probably the longest to learn because I used to think pace was about aggression, focus, intensity, pushing hard, but here's what I learned over and over again. When I'm not calm, your boy falls apart like a box of Lego. Even when I'm fast, even when I'm winning, one mistake, one bad overtake, one rude block, and I'm suddenly rattled. I overdrive, I miss apexes, and I start chasing gaps that aren't there. So I had to build a new reflex. Whenever the pressure hits, I tell myself, it's just me versus the track. For me personally, that line right there changed everything. Because in the end, it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It's not about the guy in front, it's not about the guy behind, it's not even about winning. It's about whether I can extract the most out of my lap, my car, my ability right now in this present moment. When I drive like that, I'm faster, smoother, and way more consistent because I'm no longer reacting, I'm just driving. And honestly, that's where it gets fun again. Now, what about you? What's one psychological shift that actually made you faster or even just had a better time in sim racing? No matter what kind of sim racing it is, drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. See ya, love you, bye.